This is the Football Show. Curtis with us this morning. And Curtis, we have to talk about what's going on at Derby at the moment. So let's do that. I just wonder, how hard is it, not just for the players, but everyone involved at the club at the moment?
It's obviously very difficult. I can almost say us as players, we've had a mindset that we've always kind of been expecting something to come down the line, you know, be it a points deduction or some kind of embargo because of all the charges that were hanging above us. But to get hit with the administration and an automatic 12 points was obviously tough to take, you know, particularly on a Friday night when you hear about it on Sky Sports News just before a game. We could have obviously gone into our shell on a Saturday, but the one thing about this group is we're all together. We're almost we've had that siege mentality from pre-season. We've only had a small squad, a real close togetherness, and we're building a way of playing and a style and a squad that knows what we're about. And I think that's what helped us get through the weekend. That's what's helped us get through the last few days. But we realised that as much as us as players will be affected, unfortunately, it's the people behind the scenes that you don't see. It's the people in the kitchen, the people in the laundry, the maintenance people, the analysts. They're the ones that I feel for right now because, unfortunately, usually with administration, you're going to see redundancies, and that's the sad thing about it because I've been in this club a long time, got to know a lot of people personally, and you don't want to see them go.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing is it was a difficult summer. You knew something was coming, but had no idea, even as a player, as part of the fabric of the club, the size of what was coming.
No. As I say, we've had a catalogue of charges hanging above us from the EFL. I think one was cleared recently to do with payments to a football club. But there's always been that shadow kind of hanging over us, and that's what we've been working with. We've been, like I say, we've been working towards we're going to get as many points as we can, and then if a deduction does come, then at least we'll be in a stronger position as we can possibly be. Obviously, if it were to be a 9-point deduction, that's one thing. A 12-point deduction on its own, that's another thing. But if we to take both, it leaves us in a really difficult situation, and you'd then say it's, you know, playoff type or promotion pushing type points to get out of the situation. So it's it's going to be a long old season, but ultimately we can only do what we do. We can only affect what we do on the pitch, and we'll be giving our all to make sure we do our best there.
And did I really hear that right? You only understood the extent of it when you heard it on Sky Sports News?
Yeah, I think there was a message in the group chat. Someone put 12 points pending then, lads. So I just immediately turned on Sky Sports News, scrolled through Twitter and got the info. So it was obviously difficult to take. As I say, on a Friday night, the timing wasn't great. But since then, I've been told it was maybe released because of a leak that was someone else was going to release it. But yeah, it wasn't ideal. But the main thing is, the lads, as I say, on Saturday stuck together, didn't use it as an excuse, and we got the win against a very good Stoke team, and that's what matters. And I think that shows the character that we've got in our dressing room, but also, you know, the way the fans were with us, they're in it with us together, and yeah, it's going to be a difficult time for the whole football club, a club of this stature, but we'll get through it and we'll come out the other side.
Wow. As you said, you've been there a while. You've been there since 2017. I wonder, for people outside the club, is it appreciated how big a club Derby actually is?
I think a lot of, you know, particularly Premier League football fans will remember the last they saw of Derby was the famous, I say famous, but the record low points season, and that's what they remember. But it's a fantastic football club, a massive football club. The infrastructure that we've got at the training ground, you know, we've got about 15, 16 pitches. As I said to you earlier, we've got analysts that analyse all the youth team games, everything. The infrastructure is set up for the Premier League. It's just unfortunate that we haven't been able, as a football team on the pitch, to be able to step over and that line and get to the Premier League. But everything is set up to be a Premier League side. And I think that's the one thing I can say going into administration, that if somebody, a prospective buyer, was to look at the club, they see the makings of a Premier League side, and if they wanted to invest their money and try and take it to the next level, but touch wood in a more steady way, then hopefully we could potentially be that team and fulfil our potential of what we are.
Yeah, two-time title winners, of course. When I was young, it seemed to me that the big match on a Sunday always seemed to come from the baseball ground in those days. It was iconic, and Derby were certainly up there. Let's get to... So you found out the Friday night by tuning into Sky Sports News. Then came Saturday, and that victory over... and you scored. So how did that feel?
I've forgotten how to celebrate and stuff like that when I scored the goal, to be honest. No, it was a fantastic result. You see Max Bird, he on his birthday, 21st birthday, scored his first goal, right footer from 25 yards when he's a lefty. And then I shocked the world by scoring my first goal in 4 years. So yeah, it was a nice feeling to get the goal. But as I say, the main thing was that the performance and the reaction from the boys was what we wanted. So whether we'd won the game, lost the game, drawn the game, we went out there, we gave our all, and fortunately it was enough to get the victory. And the fans this season, as I say, it's easy when you have a situation like this to have the doom and gloom, to have the protests and kind of be on top of the team without meaning to be. But they turned up, they were positive, they got behind us, and luckily we repaid them with a victory.
Yeah, I could almost hear your thoughts there, Curtis. I've scored. What do I do now? Okay, just run somewhere, and then try and work out how I celebrate. You talked about getting into the dressing room that Saturday morning. Must have been a strange place to be, and I wonder what role Wayne Rooney has played in that day and through it all. His first job in management, of course, but how much has he impressed you in this situation? What messages was he telling you that Saturday before kick-off?
I think the biggest compliment you can give Wayne is he doesn't need it. I've said it all along, he didn't need it during the summer when we weren't able to sign the players he maybe wanted to sign. He could have walked away. Obviously getting to this situation now, it would be easy for him to walk away, but he's there, he's in the meeting, and he's telling us, I'll stand in front of you, I'll back you all the way. I'll be the main one to take on any flack, take on any questions, whatever needs to be done. But I'm going to be right in the trenches with you. And I think as a player, particularly with a group of young lads in the squad that maybe aren't quite privy to this administration situation and what comes of it, it's good to have a man like Wayne Rooney that's leading you and guiding you all through it. Because, as you say, he doesn't need it. He doesn't need the money. Doesn't need the job as such. Doesn't need to work. But he's willing to do it and stand by us and us as players. If you don't rise to that when the manager does that, then you're probably not in the right game.
No, and that makes it more impressive from him, doesn't it? Because as you said, he doesn't need it. You know, does that show how much he wants to succeed then in what is the second part of his career?
Yeah, 100%. He's a winner. He's a born winner. We could see that from a 16-year-old that pulled on the Everton shirt and scored against Arsenal. He wants to succeed. He wants to be right at the top of the game. And this is the start of his journey. It's been a really, obviously, bumpy start. You know, last season was a story in itself, surviving on the last day. But then this season has written another chapter. So if he does decide to bring out another book, he'd definitely have a few more sales on that. But it's been a really, really difficult start for him. But what I will say is the way we've adapted our style of play, because that goes unnoticed. You know, we're talking about everything off the pitch, but I just feel that the manager's had a lot of problems with the squad on the pitch, but we've still managed to play a style of football that we can interchange with the players on the bench. They can come straight in, they know their role, and we're trying to play enjoyable football whilst obviously trying to win for games of football. We're not playing for the sake of it. We're obviously doing okay in the league at the moment. I think we're 12th at the moment. But yeah, it's enjoyable to play for him, and I'm really enjoying working for him. Yeah,
so sometimes out of adversity comes strength, doesn't it? And is the feeling that if you stick together and stay in the Championship, will that almost feel like winning a title or winning a trophy?
It would be, and for us as individuals, us as a collective, and the manager himself and the coaching staff, if we were able to overcome this situation, the potential, the 12 points or the 21 points, wherever it ends up being, it will go down in history. I think, it'll be massive for a football club that, if you said Derby stayed up after 12 points in isolation, you always expect Derby to have a strong squad. So you'd think, oh, maybe they'll be all right anyway. But having seen the problems we had, I think we had 13 senior players at the start of the season. Still, and up until the day before the first game of the season, we were trying to get other players over the line. Ended up losing a couple because we couldn't do the deals. Having an embargo, not knowing now with administration whether we're going to potentially sell players if it gets to January. That's the worry. So if we were to be able to climb ourselves out of this situation, I think the footballing world would have to stand up and show us as players and as a group of staff as well a lot of respect.
Yeah, and of course we wish you, Wayne, and everyone in the club, all those staff that you mentioned as well, all the very best.